time I ever went on a mission trip. I don't know if you've ever been on a mission trip, but when you go on a mission trip, you always go with the intention of, we're going to change the world. We're going to go to that country, that city, and I'm telling you, when we come back, something is going to have shifted over that whole region. When you get back from a mission trip, generally speaking, you actually didn't change anything. But something in you changed. Something in you changed. A boldness came upon you. You're out in a street, in the middle of a city, telling people about Jesus, but we don't do that at home to the same degree. I had the privilege of going to Bangkok in Thailand. 80 of us from Australia went, first mission trip I'd ever been on. We arrive and we get the team briefing, and as we're getting the briefing, somebody says to the leader, he says, I'm sorry to say, but we've had to cancel the whole schedule for the trip. We had schools and colleges and universities, we had church services at night, crusade meetings, and there was an atmosphere of expectation amongst the 80, not dissimilar to what's here. We were there and the 80 of us were like this, and then suddenly it was like, now, we could have gone shopping, but we weren't there to shop. When you've gone with a certain agenda and things change, you don't want to go shopping. Or we could have gone swimming. There was pools around, but I am the type of person in that environment that I go, well, we came to do something, let's do it. So I, before I even thought about what I was saying, out of my mouth said to the leader, why don't we go across the road? Now, across the road was the largest university in the Southern Hemisphere. 750,000 students, literally across the street from where we were. What an opportunity. It's called the Rom Ken Yen Hing Hang Hong Hu Ha Ha University. I don't know what it's called, it's something like that. And anyway, we go across, and so I say, why don't we go across? And the leader was a smart man. He pointed back at me and said, what a great idea. We'll go across and you preach. And at that moment, who's ever had that feeling of, do I pray, Lord, bring thousands, or do I pray, Lord, nobody, please? We're walking across, we've just got a few guitars, 80 people. We walk right into the centre of the university. We get there and it's like this big mound in the middle of the university, and it's like a central meeting point. We think that's a good place, so we start playing guitars. Within moments, a crowd of about 400 people gathered around. I was sort of going, God, please send them away. Because suddenly I realised not only was I preaching, and I'd never preached in that context outside of my own country before, but I was preaching with an interpreter. And I didn't even know what that meant, really. So I thought I'd say something quite, just an introductory, and hi, we're from Australia, it's good to be here. And I said that, the interpreter says, and literally went on for about 5 minutes. I'm thinking, I just said, hello. So I thought, I'll get it. I'm going to say a whole paragraph. We're from Australia and we believe in God's here to touch. And I just went on and on and on. And he goes, what's the matter? At that moment I realised it didn't matter what I say, he was just going to say whatever he felt like. There I was on the streets, and as I'm about to preach, then another thing happens. Isn't it always the case when you're in a place where you just take a step? You say, I'm going to do something I haven't done before. I'm going to do what you've called me to do. God, I want to break into something new. As you're about to do it, everything seems to go wrong. All of a sudden I hear from behind me, I sort of turn to my left, and there's 30 men in blue robes, Buddhist monks. What I didn't realise is we'd set up our band right in front of a Buddhist shrine. And the monks were coming to put their incense in the shrine, and we were all standing there. And I didn't know whether it was legal, illegal, I didn't know what was going on. All I could think of was, I began to preach just for a few minutes. The crowd was there. I didn't know what else to do but to ask people if they wanted to come to know Jesus right there on the streets out in the open air. People didn't know Jesus. I began to speak, and as I spoke, I asked if people wanted to come to know Jesus. Right there on the streets, there was around about 14 or 15 people gave their hearts to Jesus right there in that atmosphere. You bring them forward. It was only about a metre because, you know, the crowd was right there. And they came forward and we prayed for them. As we prayed for them, some people started to fall down under the power of God, right in the middle of the street. It's like, wow, these people don't even know what to do, and they're going down. God touched them. They got up. They said it was like electricity. You know, as soon as we finished that meeting, somebody came from one of the churches and was watching. They said to the leader, we've just made some phone calls and the schedule we had is still in place, but actually now it's a bigger schedule. And that next 2 weeks, we actually saw hundreds of people get saved. Thousands of lives get touched. We went into schools all over that region. But it took somebody in a room just to blurt out what they were thinking in their head, to break an atmosphere. You see, you have a great nation. You have a nation that I believe God has destined for His purposes. But there needs to be a people that will say, we're not going to be pushed back. But we're going to push into all that God has for us. We're going to step into a zone of breaking what hasn't yet been broken. And tonight we have an opportunity to stand together and make a statement that says, we want breakthrough. Because you see, Hosea 10:12 starts by saying, sow to yourself in righteousness. Reap in unfailing love. Break up. Do something you've never done before. For now's the time to see showers of righteousness in KL, in Ipoh, in Penang, in Malacca, all across this great nation and the nations surrounding. But it's going to take someone to say, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to prepare myself. I'm going to break open ground that's never been broken. You know, I was told when we came here that offerings wasn't really what you do in Malaysia, because it's just not what we do. The Planetshakers has always had the mandate. Pastor Russell got this from God in the first year that we started. We don't want to teach a generation to pay. We want to teach a generation to sow, to give, to understand that as they do that, they release something of the supernatural and breakthrough happens. I can tell you story after story of meetings like this. And tonight, there's something ready in the atmosphere, but I believe we can just break open something like we've never seen before as we collectively say, God, we're going to break through. We're going to do something like we've never done before. We're going to position ourselves by faith. So ushers, I'm going to ask you, whether you're here, you're in Hall 1, or you're out there in Hall 3,